Joe, beginning with Bobby.
What's up, guys?
Joe, how's Nimi doing with the ankle?
I don't know. I'm going to see him after this.
And you had to play smaller through the course of this game, or you did play smaller through the course of this game. What do you see from the looks with Josh at center and even through Jordan in there late? What do you feel like those looks gave you?
Yeah, they're just continuing to get reps, different possessions. I thought Josh gave us, some great stuff. Just his ability to shoot tonight, and also did a great job screening. I think Jordan's getting better and better regardless of where he plays. So we just got to keep chipping away at those two guys. They got a chance to really help us, and they're getting better and better each game.
Joe, the fourth quarter, was that a case of a couple guys getting hot, can't shut the water off? Or was that, how did the defense play into that? What went into that fourth quarter?
Yeah, I'd say a little bit of both. I mean, there's obviously, again, right, whether you win or lose, there's always possessions you can get better. So 15 or 20 of them. A couple of their guys played really well, and there's obviously possessions that we could be better defensively.
You guys went very small for much of the game after Nimi got injured. What do you have to manage with those lineups, and what are the advantages to going that small? Yeah,
always advantages, disadvantages. The advantage is the speed that we could play with on the offensive end, the dribble drive, the pace that we can create defensively. We could pressure a little bit more. Obviously, disadvantages, but I think you play faster, so you're just managing the sub patterns because I think obviously exert more energy.
Joe, you talked about, you said a little bit of both for the second half there. After the last game, you mentioned individual defense as a point of contention or something that went wrong. Did you see that happen in this game that led to some of that second half downturn?
I think when both teams are playing small and it's just a dribble drive, you're just creating a ton of indecisions on reds and staying square and driving angles. And so, that's one of the advantages of us. I think both teams were doing it to each other, so you have to just continue to work on reds, angles, communication, individual defense. That's the disadvantage, advantage of playing smaller. And, when you have 10 guys out there who can do it, it just becomes a track meet. So, you just have to adjust to
that. What went well for you guys in that 48-point second quarter?
Got stops, got out and ran offensively. I thought, Josh did some great things, turning defense into offense. I think it was good to see Sam get going as well. And I just thought we had some good possessions off turnovers and misses getting out in transition.
Joe, what have you seen from Anfernee over the last 3 games? He's had some of his most efficient scoring nights.
Yeah, he's doing it. He's playing his role really well. I think he's given us, everything. He's trying to understand the system. He's learning. He's competing. But I think the guys are doing a good job. I think he's just getting more comfortable coming off the bench and being aggressive right away. I think in the first few games he was kind of easing into it. I think the last few he's just kind of like, that's what we need him to be. And so he's done a great job of that and just scoring in a bunch of different ways. So it's good to see him do that.
Joe, you've said there's not really a sub pattern. Do you feel like the guys are getting more comfortable with that being the reality where like Josh tonight comes in, gives you guys great minutes, but he might not have 20 minutes the next game? Like, do you feel like at the beginning maybe it was a little harder for guys to adjust to the fact that they didn't know when they're going to go in? And do you see that changing at all?
We just always give the game what it needs. I mean, that's the most important thing. And like you said, we've talked about the depth that we have, and guys can bring different things. So you just have to give the game what it needs. I think our team has an understanding of that. And we just got to continue to get better at that. You have to give the game what it needs every single night. And that could call for, whatever the case may be, depending upon lineup situations, sub patterns, foul trouble, matchups, all kinds of things. So I think that they're learning and understanding, what the responsibility is, regardless of what the minutes or times are. We just got to continue to get better at that.
Joe, were you kind of glad or really, in a sense that you guys were pushed like that you guys didn't cruise, that you guys had to kind of eke this one out?
At the end of the day, I feel the same as I did as if we, lost or won. You have to keep it to those 20 possessions that you can get better at. You know what I mean? And I think it's important when you're in the situation that we're in is you can't get too high, you can't get too low. You have to have understanding of this is where we're at, this is where we have to get better, this is what we did. And so, I think that's just the most important thing. The season will present a bunch of different challenges, but I feel as if I did, any other game, we did some good things and we have to get better at the same time, and I think that's a really good place to be.
Is the talent in the league getting better?
It's a good question. I think talent's being redefined. Yeah. I think it's a really good question. I think we talk about that talent. In the past, it used to just be kind of what it still is of like you could just get a bucket anytime you want. But I think talent's being redefined by, the effort, the the ways you can impact the shot margin, the ways you can impact the game. Can you play full court for 40 minutes? Can you be better conditioned? Can you play faster? Can you get to the free throw line? Like, I think it's just kind of slowly being redefined as more than can you just score, and so I think that's where the league is headed, and you're seeing the pace of that today. That whole second half, there was no bigs on the floor. So, like, being able to impact the game in a bunch of different ways and positionless, it's definitely growing in that area. Thanks.
Sorry, I'm muted. Waiting for Jimmy Toscano to get on here. Anyway, you saw Joe Mazzulla there. Celtics go on to win 138-129. Interesting game here for the C's, who were healthy but lost Neemias Queta early, and the Orlando Magic were down a bunch of dudes all game long, and it got close and it got a little sticky there for a while as Orlando kind of went nuclear in the fourth quarter. To make a game of it, even though they were kind of considering, like, I feel like they almost mailed it in that fourth quarter, and they still just shot the lights out. So it was something we didn't fully expect. Anyway, we are going to start the show officially with me and Jimmy Toscano coming up right now.
Always has to be a shot at somebody.
I know.
They're never clean.
They have to run. That's the only shot they have.
They do it for 82 games. We're about to find out.
He already has shown what he's capable of.
Did surprise me. I thought we were going to hang in there.
This makes me think that we do need to be humble.
I actually think you're the only one who deserved that beating.
I'm here.
Jimmy, just so you know, while I was scrambling, trying to get you on, trying to get everything on, I did the first 15 seconds of the show muted, and there was no one to tell me I was muted. So it wasn't even that I was muted. There was nobody there to call me on it.
Damn it, Bailey. No, listen.
Damn.
I had to do an emergency computer change. I can't get the camera to work. Or you know what? I couldn't get it's something to do with the hardware of the laptop that I was using. It wasn't reading the camera. Not only was it not reading the camera, it wasn't reading the built-in camera. So I had two cameras that the computer, StreamYard, whatever it was, wasn't reading. I had to get a new laptop. Nobody wants to hear that anymore. John, I'm sorry that I couldn't yell at you for being muted.
I know. And the chat did, but
for me.
The chat has no voice. So they just yelled. But nobody heard them either. Anyway,
the chat should be happy tonight. The Celtics, made it interesting, but they ultimately, they came out on top. I think too interesting. Certainly down the stretch there, but yeah, I know. Sorry, Zach, that was a really bad story, but that was
no, it was a cool story.
It wasn't that cool, but
he's here. He's here.
Can we just enjoy that? Maybe
we can enjoy it. This isn't going to be me. Well, whatever.
I know it's not. It's not going to be me either. But it's Sunday night, John. Like, I think it's wind down time. I don't want you to your Monday. I don't want you to start the week off all angry.
I am going to enjoy all of the positive things that happened in this game that I liked seeing, and there was quite a few of them. And that includes Sam Hauser getting out of a teeny bit of his funk there and knocking down some threes. It's something that you have to see him do. Them surviving without Neemias Queta, surprising. I thought when he went out early, this was going to be a tough. If he's out an extended period, this stretch is going to be particularly tough. Josh Minott, back from the dead, looked like the most confident guy I've ever seen in my life. The way he was stroking threes and going to the basket,
dunks, the whole nine.
He looked terrific. Anfernee Simons again in his limited minutes.
Talk about him, John.
Was awesome. The Celtics scored 48 points in the second quarter. Simons is a huge part of that. Didn't earn him more than 9 minutes in the second half. That makes total sense. But whatever. So be it with that. Jaylen Brown, outstanding. One of his best passing games, I thought, of the season. Hit 2 threes late after starting 0 for 4. That was really good as well. And I like positionless. I like small ball lineups. I like multi-guard lineups. I like energy lineups. So I didn't mind seeing that. I actually liked it as an experiment because you could survive it here with what happened tonight. And Joe was asked about it a couple of times, and
I missed Joe, so
yeah, and
Missed what he had to say,
asked
I mean.
about having to do it. An interesting thing tonight. I don't know if I missed something. And Bailey, you can tell me if you have information I don't have. But Garza didn't play.
No, he didn't play.
Was he supposed to not play?
No, it was coach's decision.
That's interesting on a night that, yes, he's confirming he didn't play. I know he didn't play, Bailey. I'm asking, was it planned or he was like, I'm looking at the box
I don't
score
see any
too.
injury. I don't see any injuries attached to it. So
Yeah. So anyway, if Celtics want to play small ball, bingo. Go for it.
yeah, I mean, I
But,
think
like-
a lot of us thought they weren't going to have a choice, John. They were going to have to play small ball this year. Now, Cade has been a breath of fresh air. No pun intended, because he's a heavy breather out there for sure. But I think because Cade has had some success in this role of his, and they've gotten something from Garza. Again, they didn't get anything tonight, but they get a guy who's been able to come in and kind of spell Cade. They've been serviceable, I would say, at that center position. So it's allowed them to at least have a center. But when Cade goes down, I have no problem with what Joe did. You have to pivot. And against a Magic team that's been kind of struggling and kind of going through a bit of an identity crisis on their own, I think you were afforded that opportunity. Now, all the things you said, I'd have to, again, Jaylen Brown, say what you will about him, but he willed the team. He was not going to let the Celtics blow this game. That much we can say. And he was the guy that really came out hard on Friday night and really criticized the team, the players, the guys for not being ready, not playing hard, kind of challenged them and said, hey, you're getting paid to play, get out there and show why you're in the NBA. Right. So I tip my cap to Jaylen Brown for, putting a stop to that Magic run as best he could. Of course, he got a little bit of help, but I think it was obviously Brown for the bones of that fourth quarter. The only guy that was really putting the basket in the bucket there. And so that's where I first go with it. Now, of course, everyone's been hanging on every Hauser shot because I think every Celtics fan knows that if that 3-pointer isn't falling, there's not much that you're really looking for otherwise. Right. And I mean, they need all the offense they can get. And Hauser's the guy that we know what he's capable of. We know that when he is on, he's one of the best 3-point shooters in the league. So that's why Noah would just argue the numbers. The stats say he's going to come out of the slump. He's going to shoot a higher percentage. He's going to come back to where he is. So she wins that argument tonight, certainly. Good to see Hauser back in that capacity. I'm not going to say, the Hauser's back. Like there's no issues, no concerns, but you got your 14 points from him tonight, 4 of 7 from 3. You'll take that any single day of the week. So definitely some good things tonight. Those are the two that stuck out to me. And then Minott. It's just funny because we were talking about how on Friday night, John, we were talking about how Minott, has been banished to, irrelevancy. And tonight it's a completely different story. So I don't know how many times we can seesaw back and forth on these guys and say, oh, tonight he was the guy, and tonight he was the guy, and oh, now he's the guy. It just feels like that's how it's going to be. I don't know if that means like if you have if you have 8 stay ready guys, you have no stay ready guys. That old saying, like if you have 3 jobs, you have no job, something like that, where it's like, I don't know if any of these guys are actually good enough to keep the role, but on any given night, one of them seems to, on a good night, one of them seems to at least step up to some capacity. And tonight,
Well, so that was the question Joe was asked. And I was going to say my long preamble about saying nice things was so I could say what I actually wanted to say, which is
nice.
like even Scalabrini is saying it, like the homeriest homer of all. We just can't learn anything about these guys playing games like this. It's impossible. Like you can't. Orlando landing at 1 a.m. in Boston for a 6 p.m. game on the second night of a back-to-back.
Two guys
on the road with 4 of their top 7 rotation players and 3 starters out of the game and basically mailing it in the fourth quarter. Like, I just don't know what this, like, I don't know what we're supposed to glean from this. So, like, it's nice, but we're back in preseason mode where it's like, oh, they look good, but like, so again, I really want to see this stretch, not like to be like, look, they're bad. I want to see this stretch to see like, how can their best, how can they hang with other decent to good teams? Where are they in that world?
Mhm.
And you just can't see it. And Orlando had been playing better lately, but they're just down a zillion guys right now. And it's so hard to get a read. So it's so hard to like formulate an opinion and stick with it. And we're stuck.
Right. And we
and
kind
we're
of end
stuck.
up going back and forth because
And we're
almost
back. And then, yeah, those
prisoner
other
of the
guys are,
moment,
yeah.
like Bobby's, you know, like how he's a
Yeah.
prisoner of the moment. And
They're going to fly in
don't
there
wanna
and
get-
tell us how awesome it was and look at offensive rating and the
I
60%
know.
shooting tonight. And here's another stat padding night where their offensive rating is going to look obscene, and off
that's
we
it.
go.
The
Yeah.
138 points tonight, you know, points per, all these stats are they're gonna meld into the previous games where they sucked.
Yeah.
And they're going to end up with, you know, top offensive rating and that's what like the stat people are going to see. But just watch the game, see who they're playing against. Take out the, you know, I don't want to say take out all the games that gave them, you know, high offensive rating, but in some capacity, you got to take out the highest, you got to take out the lowest, and you got to find like what makes sense, right? I mean, and to your point, John, yeah, I mean, you're playing up a banged up Magic team. This was a scheduled loss for them for the most part. So it's not so much the wins and the loss. I mean, yeah, it's good that they got the win, but you're trying to pull things from it, right? Isn't that what you're going to do?
Yeah, and it's hard. And like I said, you know, someone on the other, you know, the other day I was Noah or Bobby said like, well, you know, you see, you know, you have the other side of the coin, the Houston game, and I'm like, no. The Houston game was very indicative of what it would be like. They had their guys, you had your guys, you played, they ran you off the court.
Mhm.
That's not fluky. That was emblematic. We're talking about playing decent teams that have all of their players. That's all I'm asking for, not outlier results. I'm not going to judge them by Brooklyn lost the other day any more than I'll judge them by the Houston loss. Those were games that happen. You get blown out by a good team, you lose to a bad team. Both of those things can happen in a season. Absolutely. You can get blown out by a mid team or a bad team. The Houston was just one game, but it's not an outlier performance in the sense that there wasn't like fluky, gimmicky things coming off. You're on a back-to-back, you're sitting players, yada, yada. You tried, you failed. It was bad. That's why I want to see this stretch. Play good teams, see how you stack up, get a true sense of who belongs out there. You know, who's earning those minutes, who can do it against good competition, what rotations might look like when you actually have to worry about what the other side is bringing here. There's just been so many of these crap dud games against crap opponents or opponents that just have nobody going for them. And it's just making it hard. It's just making it really hard to get a sense of who these guys are. So we're spinning our wheels a little bit in terms of our analysis with these guys. That being said, I liked all the things that we saw. I did. Yeah.
I did.
Guys, I know they played a lot of games a lot of nights, but they're healthy, and a lot of these opponents are terrible. When you're talking about Memphis without Ja and New Orleans without Zion and then the Wizards, like this is bad. These are bad teams. Brooklyn twice. You're playing the 5 or 6 worst teams, oftentimes without even their best players. Like it's really, really, really hard to get a feel for this team. You know, you've got the games against Philly, I feel like the New York game, you know, you got a few where you can look at it and be like, okay, these count towards my, like, you know, towards how I rank these guys. That's how I look at it.
Do you also,
yeah,
do you kind of, even though you're not getting against the teams that you want, John, like, don't these games also tell you something in the sense of who they are? Like if this is the games that they are winning, how they're winning,
it's great.
Beating, regardless
the
of
fact that they can do this is good. Yeah.
No, but on the other end, like, okay, losing to Brooklyn, like, does that tell you anything about them on Friday?
No, I don't. It was an off night. Like Noah was saying, like we're giving Bobby crap. I actually don't put much stock in that game, like at all. Like we saw the NBA champs lose games like that. You know, the 2 years ago, they could lose a game like that. They just didn't show up and play a depleted team and lose. And we'd be like, what's wrong with these guys? You know,
right?
That shit happens. I actually don't place a lot of stock in that either. I really don't.
So you just need 40 games is basically.
You got to see more. You got to see more. That's all. That's where I'm stuck. That being said, I really did like a lot of what we saw here, and I'm actually pretty happy that Minott bounced back looking this way, because part of my fear with Joe, and Joe was asked about this twice. Noah asked it at the end, actually. Are players getting used to your pattern of not really knowing when they're going to play, when they're not going to play, and how they're going to go? And he didn't really answer it much, but it was like, we're just giving the game what it needs. And I believe that that's true, Jimmy, on a night-to-night basis. Like, tonight, I think I need this, and Joe is he's in the kitchen, and he's just reaching for the ingredients that he thinks is going to make the best meal. I get it. But from the long view, does it hurt these guys' psyches, or does it help them? Are they still ready to go? Tonight would be a night where you would say, hey, it doesn't look like it hurt them, because Minott and Simons both looked confident that they were back in there. But there were other nights where they looked completely lost. So I don't really know on that front either. That's my concern, though, is you're jerking around guys rather than just counting on them and living with them being imperfect from time to time. I don't know what it is that, you're going to get from those guys, because they're going to be tight. Brad Stevens, one of our beefs with him, Jimmy, was like he gave everybody a green light, for better or for worse. And the thing we didn't like about it was like, yeah, but that's giving bad shooters a green light. But his philosophy was, I don't ever want to tell a guy not to do something, because then the next time they have a chance to do it or not do it, they're just going to be thinking about all the time, am I supposed to shoot this? So I just let him play, And so Joe is a quick hook guy. He's a I don't like your energy guy. I don't like what you're giving this game guy. And he puts people on the bench, and he looks mad when he does it. So like, some people, I don't know how they respond.
He does it to the young guys, though. I mean, I know he did it to Jaylen Brown earlier this year, and that was really different. And I don't know how often you're going to see that, but in the past couple of seasons, John, we haven't seen that. He's stuck with the veterans. He's stuck with the guys that he trusts out there. I just think that none of these guys have Joe's trust. They haven't earned it. They haven't earned the playing time in his eyes. I think they go through stretches, but Joe, it seems pretty obvious that Joe looks for, like, from the second unit, he looks for guys that look like they want to be out there and look like they're engaged, mentally checked into the game, meaning what they've gone over in practice, what they've gone over in pregame, what's on the whiteboard. Yeah. He wants to see that being executed. And if it's not, he has no patience. He has no time for that, because he probably knows just as well as anybody that his job is on the line just as much as these players' jobs are on the line. Some of these guys in the, 8 through 12, let's call it, right? So he's not dicking around, pardon my French, waiting for these guys to snap out of it. He's going to go to the next guy, understanding that the same thing we understand. We don't know what the hell we're going to get from half these guys on any given night. I think neither does he, until he puts him out there and sees what he's got. And then obviously he's got to adjust on the fly tonight, which he did with Keita going down. Did we get, I missed the update on Keita. Was there one?
No, Joe doesn't know. He's going to talk to him after. I mean, he didn't give it to him. Jimmy, let me ask you this. Because I said this. I got a comment like this the other day when I'm talking about playing players without their best players. And this is the second time I've gotten a comment like this. Do we really need to address? Does this have to be answered?
I don't think so. This is their team.
Jason Tatum's out. This is the Celtics. Jason Tatum's not part of this team. You can't factor him into them being injured. We're not judging this team with Tatum. This is a non-Tatum team.
Celtics are without Jason Tatum again tonight, so see how it goes.
Oh, geez, we caught a break. Caught a break on the schedule. Tatum didn't play tonight. These other guys are. One sat for rest. Suggs sat for rest, man, and rest. Like some of these guys were managed tonight. That's different. Tatum's out. He's out. He might not play at all this year. Like we're talking about.
If you're without Brown or White, then that's something that we can.
Yes, we're talking about the Celtics as currently constructed as a team that does not have Jason Tatum. Might never have Jason Tatum. But yeah, on your Nemi thing, I don't know. They are without him. The on-off numbers we've seen. The stat heads want to bring these stats in there. Like about offensive rating and defensive rating and this and that. Well, bring me your Nemi numbers and tell me how you think it's going to go if he misses any time. He walked off on his own power. I'm guessing he just rolled something and it was okay. So I'm not super anxious about it. But yeah, any extended time, the drop off is
thinnest position by far
is absurd. Yeah, is absurd.
Yeah.
Thinnest position. Yeah.
No, they have
we-
no room for that. What's up?
None. We talked about Minott and how he's feeling. I got some people in the chat telling me that like Minott seems mad at Joe. I don't know if Minott seems mad at Joe. He definitely seems in his own. He definitely seems to get on himself when he's not playing well. But he played great tonight. He really did in his minutes. I liked him as a small ball 5. I liked the energy he had right off the bench. If he was shook by some of the recent benchings, it didn't show at all. He came out there confidently shooting. Jaylen Brown found him for a couple of threes early. Those things fell. He looked great. Here's Minott after the game.
Josh, I know you talked about it before, the conscious decision to just go get a rebound. Joe just said it, like you guys have to wake up and make that choice. Was there any shift or message change from the first 3 games to these last 2? Because it looks like there's been like a pretty significant improvement.
I'd say just as a team, we just turned that switch on. Collectively, we're all trying to make sure our, man doesn't get it. And then after that, it's like a team effort to make sure, like, okay, now my man doesn't have it. Now it's like, which one of us is going to go get it, So, it's just a collective effort on that rebounding end for sure.
Josh, this is your first time experiencing a win at TD Garden as a member of the Celtics. What was it like walking out of the tunnel afterwards? What was that feeling like?
I can't even explain it, man. Like, just thanking God, thanking the fans, just for the energy. It's like, my teammates, everyone here associated with Boston just empowers me. It's just a blessing to be here, truthfully. From the coaching staff to the training staff to the equipment managers, my teammates, it's just like everyone just helps me to be the person I'm trying to be.
Nice.
We talked about the 3-point shot so far. Is that something you take
Bobby.
with over the summer at all? And where do you feel like you're at with it?
Really just getting repetitions. I'm just trying to hit an above break 3 one time, bro. I don't mind the corner ones, but just over the summer, just continue to just sharpen tools. My 3 ball is definitely one of them.
What works well, you and Nevi playing together?
Say just respecting space. He's seen it as like a trigger to our offense, so he's like initiating a lot of it. I'm seeing it just like some of that can help to, get our targets like JB in the open. Just continuing to space the floor, trying to get second chance opportunities. It's a good little, I forgot the word for it, but like just a good like codependent relationship.
Josh, what kind of things are you looking for when you're crashing, positioning them?
All right, removing Josh Minott. Anyway, good game from Minott tonight. Yeah. Good game from Minott.
Yeah, and by the way, just to answer the question you brought up, I don't see any anger in Josh Minott. It seems like a pretty emotionally intelligent human, with controls his thoughts and feelings. I don't think he's mad at Joe Mazzulla. I think if anything, he should probably be happy with Joe Mazzulla for giving him, allowing him the opportunity to play when he does. Minott didn't come from a good situation in Minnesota, and he's been given an opportunity to play here. And I think Joe, this is how Joe tries to get the most out of his guys, out of these stay ready guys, if you will. And so I don't think Minott is upset at all. I think he's just, credit to him for being ready for the call. These guys, it's a mental game, because they're all these guys before they get to the NBA have always been the best players in the league and their teams and in their, leagues most likely. They come to the NBA and they sit on the bench, and it's probably hard for them to figure out when they're going to start, when they're going to play, when they're going to come off the bench, or if. So I give him a lot of credit for being ready today. And, again, plus 15, you see coming off the bench, that's huge for them. 16 points. And you talked about earlier, John, hitting threes, scoring from the inside, grabbing boards. He had 7 rebounds tonight. So maybe these guys do need the seesaw, John. Maybe just to keep them engaged and keep them from getting complacent. I don't know. If Minott was giving you this every game, I can tell you what, he'd be starting every game. And
yeah. So I was hoping the fans wouldn't figure it out, but they did.
What?
They definitely did. I was like, let me see if I can play that off. I tried.
Was it the wrong interview?
Here's Josh Minott after tonight's game.
Not all at once.
How much more comfortable are you with this team, what's expected, and what your role is at this point?
I think I understand it. Just a matter of consistency at this point. I'm just trying to do what my teammates expect of me.
Josh, you talked after having the career high 21 points against Washington about understanding that being in the starting lineup was something that could change immediately. How did you handle just going from being in the starting lineup to coming off the bench again and filling a different role?
Just not forgetting who I am, where I came from, what I'm capable of, and you know what I mean? Just give a great group of guys, great team, so much depth to this team, and I understand that we're mad interchangeable, especially with that defensive versatility that we all have. So just staying true to myself, know what I can do.
Was it hard at all to not be upset about it at the beginning, or to feel like I made a mistake or like I did something wrong to move to the bench, or is it from the beginning you knew it was going to be like fluctuating?
If you were poor and I gave you $20 and instantly took $20, you never really felt like you had it, right? So it's kind of like, I don't know. Like I said, it was just like, yeah, it was nice, but I don't know. I mean, I kind of am used to, this position, so it's not like anything insane.
What's your approach when you started?
That's a great quote.
Half and got a lot of time at the 5. What's your approach in those minutes? How do you feel like you impacted the game at the 5 tonight?
I'd say just understanding the switch from being a 4 to going to the 5. Defensive coverage wise, stuff like that. Understanding when to switch, when we're going to touch, drop, all that. So say just that mental switch. Gracias.
That was so much better than the old interview. One of the somebody suggested in the chat we should play one old interview per show and see if people get it.
See if I get it. I'm like, when he said the above the break line, I was like, I'm pretty sure I've heard that same line.
Oh my god. So funny. Gracias at the end. I love that. That was a great quote, by the way. He's asked about, what was it like starting and then not starting? And, he says, to paraphrasing, like, well, if you were poor and someone gave you $20 and then took it away, it's like you didn't really have it. You didn't miss it, like it just is what it is, Yeah. I'm still the same guy though, right? But he knows it, right? Like, know thyself. He's a ham and egger. He's a guy who's like fighting and clawing every minute he's out there to prove that he belongs in this league and belongs, with his minutes. I think someone's coming to the podium here. I see a little shuffling. People
Jaylen
getting
Brown,
ready to
perhaps?
people getting ready to ask Jaylen questions.
Bobby's gonna be first. Jaylen,
Huh?
what did you see out there tonight? In the fourth quarter.
Do I see him?
Bobby's due for a home run question. I know it's
No,
coming.
Bobby's too. He's gonna friggin' he's got it, and he's gonna
When it
he's,
happens.
he's gonna feel it. It's gonna, when you catch it clean, like you
Yeah.
right on the sweet spot, you don't feel a thing, right? It just explodes. He's just gonna know it, and he's gonna have an aura, and he's just gonna get up and just friggin' take a lap around that room, and it's all gonna be good.
Just drop the friggin' recorder. After
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Boom, out of here.
I don't know when, but it's coming.
While we do wait for Jaylen.
Prize picks?
Yeah, I might do that. I might do a little prize picks. I can't find it. Here it is. Prize picks.
Wow.
All of that stuff. Jimmy, no talking for you, though. You can talk a little. I will say this. I was pretty certain that we were absolutely in for the biggest Drake May more
You jinxed them.
performance.
Yeah, you jinxed them.
Because you can stack them, and it didn't happen, but yeah, we'll get into that stuff later. We're all holding our breath right now, waiting on the Will Campbell news, but it doesn't seem good. Anyway, download that app, use code CLNS 50 in your lineups, play your first $5 lineup. You know how this works. #1 daily fantasy sports app in all of North America. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy.
Jaylen's
I'm
on.
going to finish telling you about this as soon as we hear from our guy Jaylen Brown.
Pretty frustrated after the last game. How did you feel the team responded to that in this one?
It was a good win. I think I give credit to some of those guys in Orlando. We had the game, had a good lead, and those guys came in and just played hard. On the Orlando side, they got some shots to go down, and they felt good. Obviously, we got to do a better job of that. Don't let kind of human nature kind of seep in. But I think the first 3 quarters, I thought we did a good job.
It feels like you guys have been in that situation a few times this year where you guys are up, other team makes a run, and you guys have to sort of play, just hang on. How have you felt you guys have responded in those situations, and what goes into like fending off another team's run like that?
Yeah, you can't take your foot off the gas. I feel like young teams, you get up by a comfortable margin, they think the game is all sewn up. I have enough experience to know that anything can happen. Teams can come back, get back into the game. 20 points is not really anything. So you can't go away from what we got us to lead. You got to keep playing the same brand of basketball. I feel like when we get up, sometimes we veer and try to get into our own, thought process of what we need to do. And I feel like that's how you open the door for a team to come back.
Jaylen, did you feel like last game was an aberration compared to the effort you guys have had this season? Or did you feel like there have been kind of moments or more than you would like to see of those kinds of like going through the motion stretches?
Yeah, I think for the most part, we've had good effort and energy about ourselves. So I think last game, I want to say hopefully it's an anomaly. More times than not, we've been the harder playing team or been playing just as hard as the other team. So we just got to maintain that and also keep that humility that it's hard to win in this league. And we can't take anything for granted, especially, this year. So we just got to be focused. And I thought, today, first 3 quarters, we came out and took care of business.
Jaylen, this was Jordan's 5th straight start. He was
Come on,
mentioning
Bobby.
in New York that, you kind of
Get it,
advocated for
Bobby.
him, went to Joe saying we need like a defensive stopper and, he
What
could
was the
be
question?
that guy. What made you think that? And, how did that conversation go about getting him into more minutes initially and then the starting lineup?
Just Jordan has the body type to do it. You know what I mean? He's athletic.
Jordan,
he got a
sidebar.
6'7" frame, long arms, and I've seen him in practice be, defensively very active. It's some those 6'7" wings that they give trouble to smaller guards and stuff like the Brunsons, the Maxis, and things like that. Putting a bigger body on them. We have a lot of small guards on our team, so we have to bring that level of physicality. But I think Jordan, Hugo, and Josh, they've rotated between who's gotten minutes, who started, and I think their mindset has all been the same. So we just got to continue to empower that and continue to encourage, depending on the matchup, depending on who we played at, whoever the best player is, we got to come out, take them away, not let them get to what they want and be better defensively. And I think that's what those guys are trying to do.
Jaylen, when they were making their run in that 4th quarter, you scored, I believe it was 12 straight points. Are those the moments you feel like that's when you show a little extra leadership that they need me more now?
Yeah, I mean, when my team needs me, I would like to be there, but it's a team game. So tonight, when I was drawing help, I was trying to find guys in rhythm for some shots, even when they double in the post and things like that. When they brought somebody over, just trying to take my time to make the right read. I'm still growing and just coming out and managing the game, especially when it gets into the 4th quarter. But these are all good information for me down the line. So just keep getting better as the season goes on. I think that's the key.
Jaylen, you talked about human nature. You talk about a smaller margin for error in this year's team. The 2nd quarter, you guys, when you showed when you're fully connected, you can play really great. And then the second that kind of wanes, you give up 40-point quarters.
Exactly.
How do you, knowing that in a lot of these games this has happened, how do you get away from letting that human nature seep in and letting these long things continue to happen?
Honestly, I think it's experience. I think that being in that position enough times, I've known that if you kind of change your mentality or you let your foot off the gas, that a team could come right back. I think we have a bunch of guys who are in that position for the first time and kind of learning that just because you're up 20 points going into the 4th quarter does not mean the game is over. And I think that is something that just through experience, people who played in the league or played on teams, winning teams know that. So you can't change your mentality. You can't think, oh, now it's time to play around or now it's time to go away from the game plan. You got to, no matter what the score is, you got to treat it like it's 0-0. And that's the mentality. But you can see that when you have less experience, that mentality wanes.
And I don't want to call anybody out specifically, but this is a different group where there are guys fighting for minutes. They're in competition with each other. There are contracts. So those moments you're talking about where they have to think a certain way, those are the moments where it's like, hey, I can go get mine. I can go earn a spot. I can go earn maybe they're auditioning, they think, for another team, another opportunity. How do you fight that where this is a job, this is their profession? How do you fight that thing that they might want to do for the good of the team?
Just holding each other accountable. I think stepping up, having voices, being a leader, me being able to speak to that. But even guys that's been in the league for a while, Derek's voice is important. Even Xavier X, his voice is important on the sideline, and our coaches as well, being able to reiterate that. Sometimes we all get caught like just watching the game, but we need to be able to empower and speak to each other and communicate to make sure we keep the same mentality.
Last 3 questions, Abby, Gary, and then Justin.
You spoke about Jordan, but what have you seen in the evolution of that bench unit? I mean, those guys obviously hitting shots tonight and scoring, but just kind of being able to come together and help this team win.
They're taking steps forward. I think they're growing and taking steps forward, and I think that's the most important thing. Defensively, taking steps forward, trying to play without fouling, but being able to be aggressive. And then offensively, being able to be in the right spots at the right time and being able to make some plays. So I've seen growth and improvement, and we just got to continue to empower that. It's not going to be perfect, but we just got to continue to develop. Our coaching staff and stuff like that got to continue to develop, watch film, and then come out and be confident and to make plays.
Jaylen, you picked up a tech in the second quarter. Was that one you meant to get, or was that just kind of, I mean, what can you take me through that, just kind of getting that tech? But it just seems like you're getting your tolerance is kind of getting lower on maybe the whistles.
How many techs do I got this year? 3. I'm not a guy. I don't know what my career number for techs is per season, but it's probably the most I've gotten early in the season. I'm gonna just try to keep my mouth shut.
Jaylen, Joe was talking about how he sees Anfernee kind of getting more comfortable coming off the bench and being aggressive right away. Just what have you seen from him specifically in these last 3 games?
Yeah, that's what we need. Anfernee is capable offensively. We got to continue to find spots and space for him to be a playmaker for himself and for others, be aggressive. Yeah, he's capable. So that's what we got to continue to empower and finding that rhythm for him. It's not easy. It's coming off the bench, a new role for him, but I think he's been adjusting well, so I'm finding ways. I think the coaching staff is finding ways specifically to, get him in some actions and get him going a little bit because, he can fill it up if you give him space.
Okay.
That's Jaylen Brown advocating for Josh Minott, for Anfernee Simons. Definitely little bro relationships going on with those guys for sure. In a good way,
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that a lot. I actually, I like Jaylen's leader vibe this year with this group a lot. The way he is, particularly with that, with that group of guys, and the way he's been there and advocating for them and not afraid to say it, even publicly, or go to Joe and be like, play this guy. But I like Jaylen's energy this year a lot in that regard. I really do. I think he's taken accountability on the bad games. I think he's, called it the way he's seen it afterwards. He's been a really good spokesman for the team, after games, and the way that he's handling those other guys, I think is really good. But yeah, you wonder with Simons too. It's I think that's the unspoken thing. I'm trying to read a little into what Jaylen wrote here. And I do think that there's definitely it's coded a little. We need him to be aggressive. Kind of sort of means he's not always aggressive.
Right.
And again, I'm not sure whether that he's putting that entirely on Anfernee or on Joe, empowering Anfernee, but he's trying to will it to happen, right? And because I think he thinks it's important. I think as a scorer, he's yeah, other guys who score kind of help take the heat off me. And I like that. So, let's get more of that. But also he might be looking at it and be like, this guy's lost sometimes, or sometimes he comes in there. I don't know what he's doing. I don't know if it's, Joe, you're just messing with his head, or Anfernee, you got to grow up, and get in there and just play, man. Stop pouting. Stop getting in your feelings. So yeah, whatever it is, I definitely give Jaylen a lot of credit.
I think it's both when it comes to Simons. I mean, he even said it in his quote just then. Anfernee has to find ways to,
I like that,
going offensively, and he said we do too, right? So he's kind of putting the responsibility on both sides. So I think that is like a nice indirect way. And again, will it even get back to Simons? Who knows? These guys might be going at each other in practice. Jaylen Brown might be 10 times as vocal in the locker room than he is, on the podium. So I have a feeling there are no or not many, if any, secrets amongst the players on how they want what they expect from each other and what they expect and from what the coaching staff expects from them. I think when Jaylen Brown speaks to the media, I bet you he's giving the G-rated version of what he gives to the players. Because if you're Jaylen Brown, Derek White aside, I mean, you are the alpha on that team by far. I mean, it's really not even close. You are in a position to say what you want. You are also in a position to lead by example. And I think Jaylen Brown does all those things. He's always, been a vocal leader of this team, John. I think we can all say over the last few years, he's always been like kind of the guy, the voice of, the current state of the Celtics, if you will, after a tough loss. He's usually the guy that's going to hold people accountable. Obviously carries himself really well. And I think that he is a good representative of the team. And yeah, to your point, I do think he's kind of taking on that big brother role and taking some of these players under his wing and trying to get them to see what it takes to be a, role player, be a star, be somebody that we are going to take with us into the next season or the next couple of seasons. This is what it takes. And you either do it. And I think Joe Mazzulla is in line. I think Mazzulla and Jaylen Brown are probably in line in a lot of ways. I do still go back to that whole weird first half benching that Mazzulla allegedly gave Brown for sucking last week. But other than that, I feel like they're in line with, or aligned, I should say, with how they feel this team needs to play and how these younger guys need to act in order to contribute. And so I have absolutely no problems with what Jaylen Brown's been saying over this season. And listen, it could get harder for him, just with the way the season could go, physically demanding, depending on how the outcomes of these games go. You got to hope that Jaylen Brown can stay as engaged as he has been these first, whatever it is, 15 or so games, because, I have no complaints about his effort or his, leadership. And I think there's a lot of play. And I think, honestly, John, you look around the league, there's a lot of guys in this league that would sour on this situation pretty quickly and make it about 10 times worse. And at the very, at least we're not seeing that from Brown. We're not seeing that from White. We're not seeing it from the guys at the top.
Yeah.
And that says a lot about the character, because there's a lot of guys in the NBA, John, that would sit, that wouldn't play, that would have a bad attitude, that would, we've seen it. Call it the coaching staff. I mean, look what's going on in Memphis.
That was the risk. That was the risk if they came out of the shoot here like 5-15. It'd be like, all right, are people going to start checking out? That hasn't happened. They've been competitive, and you got a lot of guys out here fighting hard for minutes and to prove themselves. So I think that's been good. We're gonna get to Noa and Bobby in just a minute. Before we do, we want to tell you about another one of our sponsors here at the Garden Report, and that's our pals over at Omaha Steaks. I don't want to say you're running out of time, but I would get moving. It's a Black Friday sale, 50% off site wide, 20% off on a few additional items. Terms do apply. But when you go there to omahasteaks.com, you see it on the screen. You use the code Patriots to get $35 off, an additional $35. So again, 50% off, possibly 20% more. And then 35 guaranteed when you use the code Patriots to check out. It's an absolutely terrific deal. Yeah, terrific deal here. You can get burgers, steaks, chicken, desserts, sides, USDA certified tender steaks. It's the choice of all chefs and restaurateurs around the world. Personally, I already ordered. I grabbed myself a bunch of ribeyes. I also grabbed a rib roast. Working my way through the ribeyes right now, and the rib roast comes just ahead of the holidays, and you can do that too. Again, you see it on the screen, 50% off. Site-wide sale going on right now, and this makes a terrific gift. You could send it out and it'll arrive about a week or 10 days prior to Christmas. once you use the code Patriots, that's an additional $35 off your order. So make sure you check that out.
The roast
and-
beast.
Huh?
The roast
Yeah.
beast, like in the Who's and Whoville, John.
The roast beast. Who carved the roast beast? Before we get to Bobby and Noah, we did want to mention that Anfernee Simons had a good game. Don't tell anybody, but he did. He played relatively well tonight. Was a big spark plug offensively, coming off the bench, lit it up early, which was good to see. Jaylen Brown just talked about him. Here's Anfernee Simons in the locker room.
What got you guys going in the second quarter?
I did.
We just
Walk off.
a faster pace.
I got us going.
Getting the ball down the court quickly, just getting to our actions quickly. So I think obviously we knew they was on the second night of back-to-back, and so we just wanted to play faster and use that to our advantage.
Without Nimi going small, what did that do for you guys?
Just made us play even faster. I think they went to a couple of small lineups as well, but for us, we just play the same exact way. Like I said, play even faster than we were before.
Joe was saying you felt like you were easing into things the first
Bobby.
few games here. Now it feels like you're.
This is
kind
the
of
one,
in a good
Bobby.
place. Like, what was the turning point? You feel like if there was one for you in terms of getting comfortable and just being yourself here?
Oh yeah, I think just honestly just keeping it simple. Previous years that that was kind of my thing, was just ease into the game and see how they guarded me, and then kind of started to be more aggressive in the second half. And so here, obviously, I don't have that much time to be able to ease into the games. And so just taking the opportunities that's there, just being myself aggressive, and also making the right plays as well. So I think simplifying in that way has been easy for me for the past couple games.
Anfernee, what went into them making that run in the second half, and how were you guys able to sort of hold the tide and hang on?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, second night of back-to-back for them, they started to put some fresh legs out there and guys that are hungry and want to prove something that normally don't play. So they use that to their advantage as well, and we kind of had to adjust to maybe some players that wasn't on the scouting report we didn't necessarily prepare for, but they was hitting a lot of shots, and we hold steady through all that, and we come out to win.
How big is the adjustment coming off the bench and knowing that you have to be aggressive right away?
It's for sure an adjustment. Like I said before, the past couple of years when you started and teams are guarding you aggressive from the jump, and so now you got to take your time and read the game and see how the best way you can attack it. So that was my thought process going to each and every game, and now everything is kind of flipped. So it's just a change of how you're going to approach each and every game, and kind of how you're going to do the small things as well, what Joe wants me to do and the whole coaching staff want me to do, and also just being myself as well.
You're starting to feel more comfortable?
Yeah, for sure. Game by game.
How do you
Little eye roll
handle
there.
the fact that there were some games where you played fewer minutes than you're kind of been
Little
used to
one.
the last few
Subtle.
years of your career? Is it hard, like from an emotional standpoint, to be like, oh, what did I do wrong, or like how do I get back to playing those heavier minutes, or was this kind of your expectation?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the human side is not easy. You know what I mean? Just feeling like what I could have done better in those times, but also, like I said before, just controlling the controllables and living with the results after that. And I think that's what I've been trying to hammer down over the past couple games. It's just controlling the controllables and letting everything fall into place. And so I think I've been doing a pretty good job of dealing with all that and dealing with the emotional side of it, and just knowing that if I'm playing 15 minutes, as long as I did what I had to do in those 15 minutes, and we coming out with wins, and that's all that matters.
How's all of that affected your preparation, like your off day stuff, your practice stuff? I mean, it's a different.
What's up? Nothing really changed. Just doing the same stuff. Doing the same stuff I've
You have
done over the
kids?
past couple of years, and sometimes you got as you get in the league.
Somebody
you
ask
understand,
him.
what you need on certain days and what you don't need.
Yeah.
So,
Anfernee, who is this?
That's not pretty much
Do you
all
have
I'll
a,
say.
do you have a kid?
Final question for Brandon.
Let the guy go. His kid's there. Don't ask the final question.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Andy.
I can totally see why Joe hates that guy.
Yeah. Look how happy he is.
makes total sense. Speaking of people Joe hates, let's bring in Bobby Manning.
Got him.
And
He
Noah.
has too much fun, John.
Bobby, we were rooting so hard for you to answer, to ask the biggest walk-off question of
Yeah.
all time.
Still
We're like,
hoping.
it's coming. Bobby's gonna ask the greatest question of all
What do you
time.
think you're due, man?
With
That's
who?
all.
Simons?
Nah,
Anybody.
with Joe. What I will say before we get into it is I do think that you guys definitely kind of hit on, what it was one of the themes we're talking about, because this was like, the Lost Boys
Lost Boys
game,
or
so to speak. Like, and I know nobody's going to get that reference because you're all kids, but
that reference.
it's a famous movie. But anyway, you had a bunch of people here who we've talked about, Joe kind of not jerking them around, but they've been yo-yoed, up and down. And we've wondered, how does it affect their psyche? And for the people who think Joe's got a master plan and he's a genius, this is a great night for you, because it's like, hey, look, Minott and Simons played well. But when you talk to them and you guys all ask them those questions kind of over and over, what's it like, the adjustment, knowing if you make a mistake, are you going to come in, you're going to feel weird about it? You can see Simons is still kind of like, I don't love it. I don't love that I have to like fight for my minutes and earn it every single time, but I guess I get it. It is what it is. It's an adjustment. Not to make this whole thing about him, but you're looking at Hauser, Minott, and Simons all showed up today, and they've all kind of, these are the guys we've been talking about. Like, there's been a quick hook on some of these guys if Joe hasn't liked what he's seeing, and they all acquitted themselves really well. So I don't know if that's your kind of number one takeaway from tonight. We'll just kind of hand it off to you guys, and you go whatever direction you want to go with.
Yeah. Interesting answers across the board on the reserve / bench role that these guys are taking on. For Simon specifically, what do you take from that answer he gave?
I mean, I think they all, when I asked them, because I think I've asked Sam now too about this, like the emotional side, they all acknowledge that it's emotionally challenging for a basketball player to not know when you're going to get your minutes, when you're going to get your opportunities. And yet at the same time, I think they all seem to understand it. Like, I haven't sensed at all from Simons, and maybe he's just like exceptional with saying the right thing, which maybe he is, he's been in the league a long time, but I think he is kind of understanding that he has to play well in those minutes, or those minutes are not going to just be there guaranteed every night the way that they used to be when he was in Portland. But it's hard. I mean, how could it not be hard? I was looking at Josh. Like, Josh looked completely different for a week or two there, and I don't think that he had to look completely different, because he still had opportunities to come off the bench and play with a ton of energy. Now, he didn't always do that. But tonight you saw, okay, he gave you 20 minutes off the bench that were great, and Jordan played 24. Like, the starting thing doesn't have to be this, like, you're done for the night and you're going to have 35 minutes. Like, they ended up having similar opportunities tonight. It's just a question of like, how do you handle that adjustment? And I was hoping Joe would give me a little bit of insight on that. Like, are guys getting more used to the shuffle? But he kind of dodged that. But I think in general, like, I do think they are getting more used to it, because the results are getting a little bit better.
We should mention Boucher too, who hasn't played all year and ends up in a reserve role tonight. So a bunch of different guys found new opportunities as well as increased opportunities in this game. And that just keeps happening. And I think the fact that it continues to come around for everybody, even Hauser, after starting the year in the starting unit, got the big roll down the stretch against Brooklyn. There has to be some sense that it's going to come your way, even if you don't play for a stretch. I mean, I thought Walsh was going to the bench after they played him 90 seconds in Brooklyn, and he came back to the starting lineup for the next two games, including this one tonight. So everybody has to feel involved to some degree here. And now as injuries strike, beginning with the Cato one here, that's only going to open up opportunities for guys up and down this roster throughout the year. So I'm sure initially when guys got starting roles and went back to the bench, there was some feeling of, oh, what's going on here? Simon's the biggest emotion among anybody compared to what he had last year in terms of a role. But how can everyone on this roster not look at, one, the situation, two, how they've handled the rotation throughout this year, and three, the fact that injuries can happen at any time, and think, oh, I'm never playing again if they don't play for a half or a game or whatever it might be. Even Shireman, as I've said, they keep finding the pockets to play him, and he's been as diminished as anyone on this roster in terms of a role. So you do wonder what goes on there, right? Because there's contracts, there's mentality of taking a back seat to different guys. Maybe you feel like you're playing well and then you're on the bench the next game. Like, there does have to be a mental challenge to dealing with that. But if these guys are looking at it from any realistic standpoint, how could you feel like you're getting lost or diminished in this rotation or not getting what you deserve potentially here? Maybe Shireman and Boucher, but That's it. If anyone.
Right. I mean, this is kind of a dream scenario for. There's a reason why a lot of these guys picked to come to Boston. Is
Yep.
because there was going to be a vacancy in minutes. I think the thing that maybe is a little surprising is that we all thought there were going to be winners and losers, and these are the guys that are in the rotation, and these are the guys that aren't, and that just hasn't been the case. I mean, the only guy that's consistently not played are Chris Boucher and Xavier Tillman, and Luka Garza didn't play tonight when he very well could have come in and filled in those Keita minutes. So even those guys are not like totally out of the realm of possibilities, but again, like I think you can see in spots it has looked like a strength. I hate to like parade Joe's talking point for him, but
There's a narrow line between the positives of it and the negatives of it. And I think
Yeah.
even Joe's acknowledged that to some degree. Like you don't form a ton of consistency this way night to night.
but Josh that just got taken his $25 or $20 from him is different than Josh in game 60 when he's kind of dealt with the ups and downs all season.
Yeah.
Like the first time he starts 9 straight games, then he gets yanked from the starting lineup. Of course, that's going to be hard. Of course, you're going to think to yourself, like, what did I do wrong? Is it over for me? Did I fumble this like once in a lifetime opportunity? But if he gets reinserted back into the lineup for 2 weeks and gets pulled out again and it ebbs and flows all season long, I don't think it's going to feel quite as dramatic and it's going to impact guys as mentally quite as much as it does in the beginning. That's my theory. I mean, we're not there yet, but tonight was certainly a night where you saw that these guys are not. These guys can still contribute quite a bit just because they're not getting maybe their preferred rotation or their preferred opportunities.
And you've said it, John, the buy-in's the most important thing. And that how they've handled this does seem
Look,
to be developing buy-in. There doesn't seem to be any stragglers from what they're doing here. And that's huge 20 games in.
There's good fortune around the way, and I've talked about it. See you later, Jimmy. We'll see you, buddy.
I'm here.
Hey, there you
My
are.
right one out, though.
He deserves
Good
it.
for-
Right one out. Hold on, stay right there.
Let me ask Jimmy's armpit real quick what he thinks. All right, we're gonna get him out of there. We have like technology to like not do that, Jimmy. There's some good fortune. People go back and forth, guys, and we've talked about it a ton. Like, has it been a hard schedule? Has it been an easy schedule? And we've debated it. The amount of games, the lots of games in a short period of time has been demanding on the Celtics. The caliber of opponent, particularly again, you talk about it with Orlando tonight, sitting 3 starters, 4 regulars, not playing really anybody outside of Bane in that fourth quarter there. This was I don't care if we lose game for Orlando on the second of a back-to-back fly, landing at 1. I've mentioned Memphis. I mentioned New Orleans. Like you've got a bunch of 2 cupcakes versus Brooklyn, even though you lost one of them. I personally think it's been a friendly schedule from the competition standpoint, not in terms of the thing. And that's allowed them to be able to compete and guys being able to excel and like play big roles in wins, which matters a lot. If they had started with a different slate and you're running Minott out there against the Houstons and Detroits of the world and these physical teams and they're just getting killed, that confidence might be shook a little bit more. And the fact that they're able to get back in there and have success, I think does make a big difference here. There's this gauntlet coming up now. And again, I really think that this next 5-game stretch here is going to tell us a ton, but we're right back to where we were. It's like, what did we learn tonight? I still don't know. Like, what can you take?
Not a
Even
ton. I mean,
even
the biggest takeaway
Scal,
from
who's
tonight
like
is
the
Josh
biggest
Center.
homer you'll find, said multiple times on the broadcast, not a lot we can take away from this game, which is too bad. There's a lot of things you can celebrate because the performances were good. I liked seeing the small ball lineup excel and them not getting super beat up by doing that. I like seeing them survive without Keita. We've seen what the on-off numbers look like. So there's positives, but I don't know what we've learned about the team yet. With games like this.
The one thing I'll say about the non-Keita stuff, because I know a lot of people asked about it
Hi, Jimmy.
post-game as well, is that this was a really bizarre game because, and Joe kind of alluded to it towards the end of his press conference, but there were basically 10 guards on the floor for most of that second half. And so I don't know that they survived without Keita. Like, as far that did that
They gave
show
up like 60% shooting in the fourth.
did that show us that they didn't have somebody else go out and match up with an opposing team's big, which has been the big
And
question.
Wednesday,
Exactly.
Jaylen Duren's coming to town.
Right. So that's why I was a little bummed.
Both sides played
obviously was
small.
very bummed to see Keita go down. I would imagine, if I had to guess, that he'll miss some time, at least a week or two. I mean, an ankle sprain, he was hobbled, he was in pain. And to be honest with you, he was a little hobbling before that impact. And Jack and I were talking about it on press row, and then it was like, then he actually heard it. But that's the one thing, is I actually don't think we got any insight about how this team can fare without him. And it's possible that it's going to be pretty bad because, as you mentioned, John, like the on-off numbers have not been forgiving for when he's been sidelined. And tonight was like, it was like street ball. I mean, there was literally no positionality on the floor whatsoever. And that's because the Magic didn't have any centers. So it was the perfect night for something like that to happen. And it's part of why guys got hot. It's part of why the defense kind of collapsed from a perimeter standpoint, is because, as Joe explained, it was like all driving kicks and just threes and just kind of chaos.
And this is the bummer to start this year is you got so much out of Keita, right? And last game, we didn't talk about it a ton, but that fourth quarter effort from him, the way he played, it wasn't getting the ball a ton, chasing down putbacks, all over the place defensively. Like, he's been out of this world. So it stinks to see that momentum halted by whatever degree of injury this is going to be here. But it also is concerning because Garz has been okay. Like, I think the fans get on him a little too much, but he hasn't developed a ton through this opening stretch here, largely because Keita's been so good in front of him. Boucher, I mean, this is a good opportunity for him tonight, and he's just sort of going up and down the floor. I didn't see a ton from him. And Minott, I love the idea of him at center, but against a Jaylen Duren, I don't think it's going to work. And then you get to Tillman, who is just lost out of the rotation again for the most part here. So any amount of time that you're going to be without Keita here is extremely concerning. And that's where you do get to some of the scarier thoughts about this season here, John, because like we've said, and I didn't want to jinx it, I don't think I jinxed it, Keita is the first real injury this team has gone through this year, and it's at a significant spot where he's been a mainstay. I mean, he has started all 17 games for this team.
Yeah, that's honestly probably my biggest thought from this game, is that they might have lost their starting center for.
What do you do? Is it Garza
at
on
least a
Wednesday?
portion? I mean, you're going to have to deal with a little bit of everybody. I think you are going to go to Tillman a bit defensively. I mean, this Detroit team is not the team you want to give this a shot against for the first time. But hey, that's life. It happens. Maybe it's not as significant as an injury as it looked too. I just think an ankle sprain like that, like it's, especially because he's a big guy, like it's kind of inevitable. You're gonna need a few days. But we didn't see him post game. Joe didn't even say like he's fine like he normally does. He said I haven't even talked to him. So we really didn't get anything on Keita. But I mean, it's concerning, but it's part of what we knew was going to happen. The thing I'll say about Josh, besides for whether or not he's able to actually match up against opposing team centers, which remains uncertain, he's shooting lights out. That's like an underrated thing about his season so far. He entered tonight shooting 38% from three, and I think he had both of his attempts. So the second one was like a heat check, and he was joking around in the locker room with some of the guys afterwards about how like he took that one. Maybe it was a little bit erratic, but like he was really feeling it, and I think he's looking for his three. He's confident, and that's a really interesting development because I don't know that we knew at all that he was going to be a reliable shooter. And I'd heard that he was shooting well in practice in Minnesota, but like it had not.
How many practice shots did he take?
It had not.
Bailey, tell us if that's true.
Bailey.
So I'm glad you say that about him, the energy in the locker room and just how lighthearted his mood was in there. Because when they moved him to the bench, I wasn't thrilled about it because I do feel like he became this team's X factor through the stretch that he was starting there. And whether he's at the 4 next to Keita or the 5, where we've seen him only a little bit so far, he's so important because he brings a shooting element, rebounding element, defense, along with the length and everything else that they need at that position. Walsh and I don't know who's the better shooter there. Probably Walsh by a little bit, just based off
over
the numbers.
Minott?
Yeah, I don't know. We don't have enough sample on either guy, but to me, when Minott has played and been involved, it's been a different team. And when he's out of the mix and not doing a ton, it's not the same team to me.
It's just small sample sizes. The problem with Minott, this is the first year he's shooting any threes at even any kind of volume. And again, what are you going to? How many threes? How many threes are you going to get up when you're averaging 6 minutes a game? So the percentages mean nothing. What he's shot over his life. What he was shooting 38% coming into tonight. Averaging 2.8 attempts per game. So yeah, I mean, and Walsh is it's not bad. Walsh was around 50% a couple days ago when I checked, but he's shot so few that I'm not even sure it stayed there. Yeah, he's over 40% on 1.6 attempts heading into tonight's game too. So again, the sample size is really small. I don't know if either one of those, again, you want to see it. That's why I really think you need 30-40 games to get a sense, where's it going to be? But those guys are never going to jack more than a couple of threes a game. So if they fall, that's great. You need the Hausers and the Whites and the Pritchards to make sure that they're hitting consistently, and Shireman because it's supposed to be a calling card of his.
He's been shooting really well this season too.
He's been shooting well. Yeah, exactly.
It's interesting because this team hasn't shot well as a whole from three, and they've played bigger. They've played fewer shooters. Keita doesn't shoot threes, obviously, right? So I wonder what they're going to do here, John. Like, are they gonna go to Tillman and try to play big and replicate
No.
what Kate was doing, or are they just gonna put?
Why was
Minott out
Garza
there and
benched,
run up and
guys?
down and-
Why didn't Garza
'Cause I
play?
think, as Noah said, Orlando didn't play a center. They're running up and down the floor. They
Yeah,
wanted to use
this was not. I
speed
mean,
and shooting.
this was an all guard lineup. Like I don't think there was any.
That's it. Straight
the
match.
game
You don't
didn't
have to
call.
play
I'm
a
not
center.
saying. Yeah.
I think
I
honestly,
guess.
I think that's what it was because I don't think he's been playing poorly. I mean, against this Orlando team, last was his kind of breakout game where he had that 16-point game, and when they get the victory. That this was not the same Orlando team. Like I think if Wendell Carter was out there, you had some of those guys. Like I think you probably get a little bit of him. Not that he's like a defensive stopper necessarily, but like just that size. Like they did not have any size out today. I mean, like you said, Jordan. At one point, I think Sam was playing the 5. Like it was kind of, it was just this was just not conventional basketball. So that's my thought. I mean, maybe Joe wanted to also give Chris a chance too, because it has been quite a bit of time. Like I think Chris has only appeared in 7 games so far this season. He's been pretty relegated.
I'm really
to the bench.
bummed about that situation.
As I mentioned, like when I spoke to him in preseason, I think one of the things that drew him to Boston is that he thought he was going to have somewhat of a consistent role on the team. And so that has not been the case. We haven't spoken to him. We haven't heard from him in a while. So maybe Joe was thinking, you know what, this is a small ball lineup. Keita just went down unexpected. Let's give the vet a chance, who hasn't really gotten much of an opportunity. Whereas
What did you see
Luka's
from his
minutes have been
minutes?
pretty consistent. I didn't see anything. To be
Yeah,
honest.
I don't understand why his minutes went the way
At
they
one point,
did.
he had like the Tony Snell stat line of like 1-1-0-0.
Maybe he just reached a point where he's like, I don't think I'm even gonna be out there this year. And then he's like, oh, I'm in the game, and didn't.
I mean, he
know
didn't
how
play
to impact
poorly.
them.
It was just he didn't come in and give them like a bolt of energy or like do anything spectacular, which is fine. Like it's not always going to be the case, but you certainly want to capitalize on those opportunities as much as possible. I don't think he really like made a case for himself in this game that he warrants more minutes, but just a small.
So what do you think, John? Just go
Hold
mine
up.
and run, or you going Garza and Tillman?
Look, I like I said, I think Joe's actually probably doing it the right way in terms of like you got to give the game what it needs, and sometimes you got to put your energy lineup in there and just let them go berserk. And so like I always celebrate the Minott and the guards and the Ugo minutes because I like what those guys bring. Walsh to an extent as well, and sometimes it's just fun to see them go berserker, apply the pressure, change the momentum of a game. And I think that can work in periods of time. We're talking now about who's locking down 25 plus minutes a game as a solid rotation player, whether it be as a starter or in that top 8. And I don't actually know which of those guys is best suited to take that role there. I think it is I think it is fairly interchangeable. Jimmy, anything you want to hear from these guys?
No, nothing specifically. I mean, as far as the Garza situation, I think they're going to end up just having to play small. I mean, we thought they were going to be small, I think, a lot more this year than they were to start the year anyways, because of how well Keita played. So they obviously were able to go with a traditional center a lot more often. I mean, I'll speak for myself. I'm not going to speak for you guys, but I was surprised by how effective Keita was to start this season. So I think you go back to just playing your best guys. And yeah, there's going to be games where the mismatches just suck. Absolutely. And you are going to see a little bit more Garza. You are going to see, maybe you'll see Amari Williams get a little burned now.
I was watching. First thing I did when I woke up this morning is I put on the main.
What were the odds of Jimmy mentioning a main player first?
I don't think he's ready yet. But
Who didn't do that, Noah?
apparently nobody, because the game wasn't on TV. I
Totally
had to find it on
healthy thing to
YouTube.
do.
I had to go to gleague.com to find
Wake up,
So
hydrate, stretch, watch Maine
Yeah.
Celtics highlights.
Yeah.
That's what I do every morning. It's a nonstop. I actually do
I
none of those
tried to
four
go,
things.
but I wasn't going to make it back in time. So
Noah, speaking of, I think I just heard you under your breath say he's not ready. You don't think Williams is somebody that
I don't think I don't think they're going to pull him up like this early in the season. I haven't seen him like he's had some good moments in Maine so far, but nothing that's screaming like, okay, this guy's ready for the next step at this point.
He needs
the
the
one
full
guy
year,
that looks
man.
like he's overqualified to be in Maine is Ron Harper, who's spent a little bit of time bouncing back and
Yeah.
forth to Boston. I don't think it's Amari at this point.
Yep.
You know, you guys seem to have an in with the family members. I would recommend getting in touch with Ron Harper's dad. That Ron Harper Jr.'s dad. That might be a fun interview. That might be a fun interview.
Yeah. I don't know about that one.
I liked Ron Harper Sr.
Ron Harper was the man on the court. I don't know anything about who he is or anything like that, but he's a good player.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah, I don't have much to add. I mean, me and John kind of riffed on this game for 50 minutes before you guys.
Yeah. We're gonna wrap it in a little bit, but yeah, what some leftover thoughts? What else did you guys want to talk about?
Only thing I'll say is they could not get a stop in the fourth quarter, which I think Anfernee kind of acknowledged that part of that is when it's Jet Howard, who you were probably not game planning against much. And now he's scoring 20. What did he finish with? Like 30 something points. He scored 22 in the fourth or something crazy like that.
He was a lot of
38 points, maybe.
Yeah, the NBA, like this is when the NBA is at its best, when these guys get like unleashed and they find a rhythm. Now it doesn't matter if you're a nobody. I mean, not that he's a nobody, he was a number 11 pick, but it doesn't matter if you're not like the guy. When you get in a good flow, like on the NBA court, there's a reason why you're there and it happens. But Jaylen scored 12 straight points for the Celtics. If he doesn't do that, I think they lose this game because they were not able to get stops.
He got a big rebound late.
Yeah, he had two threes from the corner. He had a mid range. He had a drive. Got a big rebound, like you mentioned. Like that stretch kind of saved them because they were quite literally unable to get stops, and then the offense was kind of at a halt. Like they had some misses there, so it was one of those moments where it's like, okay, it's the difference between having like a real star on the floor, and it's not like every single time he's going to be able to do that, and certainly amazing, great players like go through stretches where they cannot do that. But tonight I felt like he bailed them out a little bit when they really needed it, and it showed the value of like at the end of the day there is an all NBA player on the court here, and the other team doesn't have one.
Did the Magic have a 0% chance?
No.
Entering the fourth.
No. I'm not doing this.
Down 20.
Don't do this, Bobby.
Anyway, we have another game coming up and a fun one against the hottest team in the Eastern Conference here, the Detroit Pistons. That comes up on Wednesday. We'll also talk about all of our favorite vegan Thanksgiving dishes and pies and all sorts of different things there.
Detroit could be going for their franchise record win streak on Wednesday, which is pretty crazy. If they win tomorrow, they're going for 14.
Yeah, so that'll be a fun one.
You didn't like Detroit going into the year, Bobby, did you?
Oh, I was a little lower on them because of Beasley being out of the mix, but man, they've been unreal. And I did say last year, like Cade's a guy I could see winning MVP one day, and he'll be in the mix this year with what he's doing.
What's been amazing is how they've survived without him. Like it feels like they have something really real there that extends beyond just one or two guys. So.
And the Celtics played them third game of the year. That was a really interesting game.
They were up by double digits early in that game.
They were up huge early. They blew the lead almost immediately. Then they regained a lead late and couldn't grab a rebound down the stretch. And now they could be playing them without Cada. So.
Yeah, we'll see what happens there. I'm surprised. I thought he hobbled off. I figured maybe a game or two. And you guys are saying a couple of weeks. That would be bad given the stretch of opponents they have coming up. So we'll see. Hopefully we'll have some updates in the next day or two. Hopefully, fingers crossed, we get some good news on Will Campbell of the Patriots as well. Though I am dubious.
There's a wishy-washy report that it's a sprain.
No. Garbage. Non-sourced report. Anyway, quick shout out. Garden report.
Fake news over here, I guess.
Garbage. Yeah, I'm annoyed that thing got aggregated. Anyway, just get a quick shout out to our sponsors. Download, about it by now. Prize Picks, #1 daily fantasy sports app all in North America. Download that Prize Picks app. Code CLNS, get 50 in your lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. And Omaha Steaks, go to omahasteaks.com. Order yourself something for now or for the holidays with a 50% off site-wide sale. Additional 20% off on select items. Plus, this is the cherry on top here, $35 off in addition to all of that when you use the code Patriots at checkout. Once again, omahasteaks.com. We've told you guys, but you're still there. The stream is moving. Get out of there.
Unless you're here now.
Get out of there.
Do people know what that means, though?
Celtics All Access. We're going to shut it down. Start watching the show on the other one. Get used to it. There's a bigger party over there, too, and there's a bigger chat, and it's more fun. But we're going to shut it down. That Celtics live stream chat. After Thanksgiving, it's gone. Okay? So let's get it going.
But John,
let's get it going.
Finale.
To be clear, the page lives. We're just not airing the show on it.
The page lives, and I'll have a ton of content where the show will no longer be live streaming there. Also, subscribe everywhere. Our All Access channel for content, all our Celtics podcasts, Garden Report on the CLNS Media Network, Patriots Press Pass, Bruins, Ringside, whatever have you. If you're interested in Boston sports, this is the place for you. So please check it out. Thank you guys again for hanging out with us. Amit, you didn't make my... Amit didn't make my no, he didn't.
Damn it, Amit.
Don't worry about it. We're working on it. We're going to say goodbye to you guys. Thank you guys for hanging out. We'll see everybody on Wednesday. Good night, all.